All right, hello there. My name is Robert, and today we're going to be discussing how to make Blender into a graphing calculator and graph things. And then we're going to create this kind of sphere-looking thing and have it go in and out. So this is a sphere with an array modifier, and I move the sphere around, and it's also got dupliverts. So here's a stack that looks like you've got your arrays here, and there's dupliverts there, and the arrays modify based off of an object offset. When they're not modified off the object offset, they look like that. When the object offset is on, they look like this. Much prettier, and I like it. And there's also a wave modifier. It's not doing that much, but it looks it adds a wave to it. So those are the modifiers. Let me go ahead and clear this or start a new one and show you how to get started. So if you're first getting into Blender, you'll notice that there's a lot of things to learn. I would recommend to read a getting started guide to learn that the middle mouse button pans and the shift middle mouse button also pans, and you can zoom in, zoom out. After that, you can go from there. So if you press X, or if you click on X and you type in pound frame, it will bring up something that says, would you like to, or something about auto things ignored. So what that does is that sets, for every frame, that sets that to the X. So the X uh, location. So if you go into user preferences, file, and then auto execution, auto run Python scripts, that will allow you to do that. So I'm going to show you how to turn on uh, Zoopla Frames. So it just basically puts every frame and it calculates it as a object basically. So if you go into your object settings and frames, there's your Zoopla Frames, and you can see that it is going on for a very long time for X. X is going on for 100 frames. You can turn that up to 250 if you like, or 200, and you can make things out of this. So your x-axis here, your y-axis here, say you can do ABS frame, and then put a pound sign in front just so you know that it's that, and that goes that way. And let me turn that to 0 and see. Let's try ABS frame squared. Okay, so as you can see, it does things like that. So if you type in like r cosine, r sine of theta, or whatever, and make theta your frame, you can do things like 1 times sine of frame. I like 0.05 for my offset, and then cosine is going to make a circle of frame times 0.05 for the offset, and then scale this down. You can see that it makes indeed a circle. All right, so it's kind of an interesting circle. I mean, you can change the rotation of it and make maybe an animation of it if you wanted to, or you can change uh, the geometry of this. So we can subdivide it, and then Alt-E to extrude edges, then Control H to add a hook, and then you can move the hook around, rotate the hook, and it just makes a little bit more of a different animation. Anyway, that's one thing you can do. What I've gone into doing is I've actually made this into dupla, a duplavert on top of a parented mesh. So that means that if I set, let's try a torus for this instance. If I make a torus and right click on this, say Control P parent to object, it will be parented to the object. So whenever I move this, it moves that. And then if I say duplaverts, it will duplicate all the vertices on this torus to each thing here. So let me turn, this is getting kind of slow. Let me turn it off Zoopla Frames here so you can see that that's the Zoopla torus. And again, you can change the rotation and the modifications on this. You can even make this into a sphere, and then let's see, space to sphere, and then it looks like that. So that's pretty cool. So we're going to just go with that, and I would like it to be modified with an array modifier. So I'm going to go get the array modifier, and this basically makes duplicates of it. And then I want it to be offset by a empty offset. An empty is basically empty. The camera cannot see it, and yeah, let me go with a cube. My PC is not quite handling. My Mac isn't quite handling this. So let me Control Z it until I get a cube. Okay, much better. So this array modifier, it's a pretty cool thing. You can actually click this picker and click on the object offset. So what that does is that says that object offset will be what causes the array to grow or shrink or do whatever. So let's go ahead and Alt-O, clear that origin, and then let's find that empty we just got. And there's, nope, that empty is in that scene. Scene 001, there's that empty. One, and scale that down, and then move it across here. And as you can see, it makes some pretty nice steps. You can rotate it, and it just kind of flows in and flows out. And let's go ahead and see what the animation looks like. So that's what that animation looks like. And then let's see what happens when we scale this up. Okay. So actually, I actually like the icosphere a bit better. So I'm going to go ahead and parent this mesh to the icosphere, and then let's see. I think I selected the wrong mesh. Let's see if I can get that. I'm looking for that black dot right there. There we go. And then I want that to be parented to this. And then I want to turn on Zoopla Frames, or Zoopla Verts, Zoopla Faces. There we go. Okay, maybe that's what I was doing wrong. No Zoopla Verts and instead of Zoopla Faces. So that one gives me a little bit more randomness. I think it looks better. And then let me go ahead and delete that. Go over here. And if you move this, it moves everything around it. So this was essentially to show that you can type in functions and then make them into animations and graph them if you needed to. So that's what that animation is all about. You can also go a step further, add a halo modifier to it or a material. And then 0.1 for the size, and I'm setting the wrong material. Just let me Z and select the squares. There we go. So you can select the halo material, size of 0.1, and then you can set a texture on it, And here's what it looks like. Let me just pause it. Looks like that. All these white dots. And if you set a texture on it, I like magic, you can make them look like, I gotta set the texture, sorry. You can make them look like, make them look like that. I'm not sure why the material isn't updating. Oh, the material's not updating because I selected the wrong thing. Let's keep that as a surface. Select this. There we go. Now texture. Now magic texture. Now 0.5. And then it selects like that. There we go. Now that kind of looks different. And then what you can do is you can add another part of it. You can duplicate this. When I say this, I mean the squares, if you will. Offset it a little bit. Then change the material to be something totally different, like blue. And then you can have it like that. And see how the blurry blues and the more pixelated blues look like that. And then the animation looks like that. I don't think I have a camera set up, so let me set up a camera. So that was just Shift A and then setting the camera. And then we zoom out. I think that's a good spot. So anyway, you can position the camera and then get your animation going. And then maybe you want something else in between. Maybe you want geometry and you want to just try the same thing. Well, you can just, maybe you want triangles. You can go here, scale it to 0. There's your triangle, Alt M at first. Boom, there's your triangle. And maybe you want these to be, oh, I don't know, floating in a square pattern. So there's your cube. You can Control P, parent to cube, and then cube you can cubes might be a little bit boring, but duplicate faces, and then you can set the frames, sign of frame, and you can also do like ABS, sign of, I spelled sign wrong. So there's that, and then you can add an array modifier. And then the object offset really kind of does it. So let me make an object offset. Select that, object offset, and then bam. That's kind of working. Cosine frame times 0.05. This is going to make something a little bit weird. It's not quite a circle. Let me actually make that times 0.05. There we go. So let's set the count to, I don't know, a bit. And then see if I can position near there. So this gives black triangles. And we probably want them maybe reflective. That's going to add to the cost of the ray tracing, but it's Blender render. It can handle it. So mirror reflectivity, boom, boom, boom. I don't know if my Mac can handle it. I'll post a link to the final render after this. But there's that. And the reason it looks really bad is because the triangles are not quite having a material set to them. So let's try adding a new material and then set the mirror here. You could also do subsurface scattering. That totally wrecks any form of getting it done on a laptop, but see what it looks like. Oh, and also there's jagged edges, like straight edges. Those I've been told look better if they're beveled. So I'm going to bevel those and turn off subsurface scattering. Maybe transparency. Let's see what that looks like. So as you can see, it's a lot of just finagling, getting here and there. Control B sets the bevel. That looks like a more interesting shape than a triangle. I'm going to go with that. So let's see what that looks like. Okay, see, already a lot more interesting, even though it's black and transparent. So I think it's black because we don't have a light in the scene. But whoa, that looks cool. You can make this your background if you want. Of course, it needs to go down a little bit because, oh, well, there's the rest of it. Let me scale this down. Scale this down. It looks pokey. Okay. So I think I might just leave it as black because it has transparent layers and it kind of adds interest to the scene. So this as an animation can get you started on your video DJing and your techno music if you want, or the graphing part of it can help you with teaching a lesson in math or going further with it. If you want to go further with it, there's the Python console over here, and you can type in your sign or your frame equals bpy dot I want to say data dot scenes. I'm trying to autocomplete. Frame bpy dot data dot scenes one. There we go. Dot current. Frame current. So you can type that in, and then once you have your frame, you can go sine of frame equals blah, blah, blah. You can calculate all this kind of stuff and put it in the text editor over here or in your text editor of choice and import bpy, then copy this whole thing and then turn on highlighting, and then you can just go from there. So yeah, that's pretty much it.